Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. I am Gyi Sakalakis of Attorney Sync, and I am at the largest legal tech conference in the world.
And I'm Conrad Somm from Mockingbird, and we're gonna have to do this again. I didn't come up with you had a terrible good fact, and I had a terrible good fact.
You are wearing a red hat.
I'm pandering to the Boston crowd. I did watch 3 innings of one of the Mariners games, and I still found baseball boring.
Well, it's too soon for me because the Mariners took the Tigers out of the playoffs in 15 innings in Seattle.
Yeah.
And I didn't stay up to watch the whole thing.
I did.
Because, did you?
Yeah.
And you're not even a baseball fan. You
found
think it's
it
boring.
somniferous.
It put you to bed.
Yes. Sorry.
Well, we don't just bash the local sports teams. We also talk about legal marketing here on Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. And we are here in Boston at ClioCon 2025. Conrad, what else are we talking about today?
So as usual, we're going to cover the news. A lot of that is going to be based on stuff that came out and was announced at ClioCon. And then we're going to be talking about data, the importance of AI, and whether or not small to medium-sized firms can actually play the game.
Lawyers, data, and money. Hit it.
Money makes a world go round.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
So again, for me, I keep coming back to this, look, it's Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. Our world is a lot of direct to consumer. I think a lot of people would say smaller. In fact, in Clio, they defined let's use Clio's definitions. So Clio had, I think I might get this wrong, but you can fix it in post if we need to. I think it is solo and smalls is like 1 to 10 or 20.
Yep.
Then there's mid-size, which is 20 to 1,000.
It was 20 to 200.
2,200, yeah, right. And then 200 to 1,000 plus.
Yeah.
And, our clients some of them are in the solo small, some of them in the mid-size bandwidth, but, primarily direct to consumer, not enterprise.
Right.
So I come to, and it's you should come to these conferences. You should come to ClioCon because, again, even if you're not a Clio user, there's a lot of being around these people that are shaping the future, and it's going to have an impact on the entire market space, in my opinion. You start to think about, okay, I'm thinking about growing my firm, and I'm like, this technology seems like it could be really helpful. We'll start with lead scoring, right? You're like, oh wow, now the technology can tell me something like this is a lead that I want to get in front of right now and chase. And this is something I talked with Matt about a lot over lunch as well, is that Lawmatics, you can be like, we've identified, the technology's identified that this is a good fit lead that I want to chase, prioritize it, and then build a workflow to not just collect more information from that lead, but maybe it even impacts how you follow up with the lead.
And I will say this. If you are, this is a massive miss among law firms. We've talked about this from a philosophical point of you tend to think that if we just had more leads, we would be doing better.
Exactly.
If we just had more leads, we would be doing better. Well, you bungle how you follow up with your leads, but you also don't recognize that a phone call lead is going to convert at a higher rate than a form fill lead and all of those types of things. All leads are not created equal. So why on earth are you guys still following up with all leads in the same manner? And this is just taking that further extension. The notion that we have a single workflow, if you can identify that some leads are more important than others, is just insane. And so I think for your firm, whether you're using AI lead scoring, whether it's Lawmatics, or even if it's Bill, the guy who answers the phone, who can recognize that this is a much more important hot lead that we can then change the way we are following up, amazingly important, right? And I mean, just think about the value of converting the higher leads at a higher rate, the higher value leads at a higher rate, or the leads that you want to work with at a higher rate. you guys know this intellectually, but many people are not doing it. So being able to systematize this and follow up, Lawmatics is an example of that. Filevine, ClioGrow, like changing the way you are following up at a systemic level with high value leads can be a game changer for your business.
And here's the other part. And this is the part that's unclear. And this is going to take us into a conversation about APIs and walled gardens and platform choices and all this stuff. The other thing that scoring leads provides you is to inform your marketing deployment, right? Like you and I have been talking about this forever, is to say, hey, look, when you have data on a lead record that you can use to make decisions about your media that you're buying, that's very powerful. I mean, to me, it's table stakes. Like, how can you spend media dollars without knowing if the leads that you're generating are qualified? And even now, I think with the AI, you're going to be able to even make more nuanced segmentation of the quality of the lead. Like, hey,
100%.
Right? And then to take that, and so that takes us to our step 2, which is, okay, how are we going to take this data that's been generated inside of our platform and get it out of platform to be able to inform the media platform that we're buying from, and to work with, if you've got an agency partner or if you've got an in-house marketing team, you want to make that frictionless so that it has to be happening almost in real time. And then it brings us this conversation, which Jack in his press conference, which was really awesome, I thought, addressed this, that they're still committed to open API for being able to get data out of Clio to inform other integration partners and platforms to be able to do stuff like this. And in fact, he said himself, I think he had said, like, how cool would it be to be able to say, hey, ClioGrow, I've got $10,000 to go spend, go identify where I should be deploying those resources, and then actually take that money and go and spend it on different platforms.
So we're going to get back to that, because I think that was the part, and I did not ask him a follow-up question, and I regret not asking that. I want to get to the plight of the $10,000 advertiser and whether or not that can work. But before we do that, I want to give an example, because I had to live this for a long time. We're talking very kind of theoretically about different lead channels, different marketing channels having different values, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. It sounds like a great MBA kind of philosophical exercise. Mm-hmm. But I lived this. I mean, Mark Britton was here. You guys know that people who come into you through directories have a propensity to be people who have been already rejected by law firms. They're going to a directory and they're contacting 7 lawyers because they want someone to take their case. That is a pattern. I lived it when we were working at Ava. All of your leads are just crappy leads, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that applies to all the other directories, but I can't imagine that it doesn't. So it is very real. We also know that pay-per-click leads tend to do really, really well. Pay-per-click leads are when someone is in the buying mind frame. We also know that Google Business Profile leads tend to actually not be from Google Business Profile, right? They tend to be referrals, right? And so these leads are actually fundamentally very, very different. We're not talking about small percentage points. There's a very, very wide disparity among your marketing channels of the value of your leads based on the marketing channel and based on, frankly, how they contact you. And these are things that we don't think about because law firms are just stuck in this, I just need more leads and we would be just fine. And it's not you just need more leads. You need more. You actually need more consultations.
And you need to be deploying your resources, your marketing resources and your budgets against those patterns of channels that are most effective, right? And so even though, and there's another example, is like you might find that this pattern, this persona, this client persona, even though there's lower volume, they're actually more profitable, right?
Right.
And so now you're like, it's a totally different way of looking at your business. Because as to your point, not all leads and not all clients are created equally, especially when you view that from a profitability standpoint.
I'm going to go down one more rabbit hole, working on what you just talked about. I think you mentioned some clients are more profitable.
Yeah.
And this has come up recently, and it's why I wanted to highlight this. Your marketing in a perfect world should not be enough to get enough clients to meet your growth goals. It should be able to pick those clients, choose, be selective, be choosy about the clients that you have, which means your marketing budget is actually more than you need. But when you can be selective about your clients, whether it's higher value matters or people that you like to work with or matters that you want to work on, that changes the dynamic of the firm instead of just having just enough marketing to reach our growth goals, which means we're going to take anyone who's qualified, right? There's spectrum of qualified leads. And I love to talk to those firms where they have too much marketing and they can walk away from they can be selective. And that is a beautiful position to be in. Okay, Gyi, coming back to what we promised to talk about. We asked Jack that question about the small law firm and data scarcity.
Yeah, why don't you frame that for us? So tell us about. So let me set it up a little bit, and then you can go a little deeper. So
Okay.
there's this promise of this data that you've got is going to be able to help inform. We just said it ourselves, right? So you're going to have lead data and client data that's going to be able to help inform your marketing. But to your point that you brought up. I'm a small firm. I'm doing, 10 new clients a month. Maybe, I'm just going to make up numbers here.
Sure.
100 leads that's turning into 10 clients. Is that enough data for the machine to actually learn to be able to make an informed decision about where to spend your media dollars?
And the answer to that is no.
Right.
That is the problem. This is the thing. So there is a promise of AI that presupposes.
I mean, we had this problem before AI, right?
That's
I mean,
true.
data scarcity that's an issue for even if a human being's doing the analysis. Like statistically significant insights from marketing data is a problem if you don't have enough data. I mean, this is the pitch that agency. I mean, we make that pitch. Scorpion makes that pitch. We've got all this data that we can use to inform your marketing. But if you don't have the data, there's nothing to use to inform it.
So this becomes a really interesting policy problem.
Right.
And the policy, and it's going to be very fascinating to see how this bubbles out over time. The policy, and you guys are rightly very protective of your own data. And you are scared about sharing that data with the firm across the street, and rightly so. It's why, Gyi, you and I believe in market exclusivity, because otherwise I'm going to take the data from Fred and sell it to Mary, and we're going to do a better job for Mary than we are for Fred, even though they're both my clients, right? And you guys are rightly terrified and protective of that. But the problem when you have this protection of your data is that if you don't have a lot of data, you have nothing from which to make any learnings, whether it's your pay-per-click strategies or what you can feed back into AI. And so the follow-up question yesterday to Jack during the press conference was around the sharing of the data. And they were very clear that they do not share data.
And in fact, as listeners we'll put a link.
Oh boy, I know where you're going with this.
And when we interviewed our friends previously from Clio and Scorpion, that same message was communicated by Scorpion. Right? We do not use account data to train other firms' accounts, right?
And I believe I said bullshit.
You were thinking it, at least.
Well, but see, this is why I'm thinking bullshit, and I'm happy to say it now, because that takes all of the value of Scorpion away. It does not make sense to me. And by the way, they used to say, we can't give you access to your data because then we would be sharing all of your data with everyone else. So they were clearly putting it in the same place. The value, and I'm not a fan, but we did say this previously, and I'll say it again. The value of Scorpion is that they have the
biggest legal marketing data maybe.
From pay-per-click, they do.
Yeah.
They do. There's huge value on that. The notion that they wouldn't help their clients by sharing that data across accounts does not make any sense to me, nor from historically do I believe that's how they have operated.
So let's clarify this, because I think this is important and maybe this nuance is getting lost, right? Like, you and I are I don't want to speak for you, but I'm of the mindset.
Go ahead.
That I'm like, yeah, one of the benefits of our agency is that we have data from multiple law firms.
Right.
And again, we're not, we are careful about who we're working with and how we're using that data and yada, yada, yada. And we're very transparent about that. But I believe that it is an advantage of working with an agency that they have data across these accounts. So you're not saying that they shouldn't be using the data. Your issue is that it's like, well, they're using the data to help both law firm A in the community in the same practice area, law firm B, law firm C, law firm D, and 30 other law firms.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
And you and I, our pitch has always been that we'll take the data from Chattanooga and we'll apply it to Poughkeepsie, and you'll do better because we've got Chattanooga and 20 other markets, and we know what works and we can apply it to Poughkeepsie. We're just not going to take that second firm in Chattanooga. And that's my beef with Scorpion. But they were very clear that they do not share data.
Right.
We'll see. The same thing came from Clio yesterday.
That's right.
They do not share data.
That's right.
And so the asset that you have then is prompts, it's the AI, it's what they have trained, but it's taking what can be a very small data set and putting it into a very well done, scalable prompt. I think you don't have enough data for the small firm to really start optimizing at that point in time. And my concern is for that small and medium-sized firm not being able to win there. Interestingly, we talked about Avo earlier. We haven't mentioned Internet Brands. Internet Brands runs a bunch of legal brands.
They get a lot of data too.
There's a lot of data, and if you go back and look at Indeed, they do hire data scientists, and you bet they 100% share data across all of those platforms, and there is huge value in that for all of those end customers. The flip is most of you don't realize that your data is being shared across all of those different brands of internet brands. And that I take umbrage with.
Yeah, and look, I'm empathetic because it's like you're a solo, small, mid-sized law firm. You're trying to focus on practicing law. You've got all this technology stuff's hitting you. And like, are you reading the fine print on every single end user agreement for all these different platforms?
You're not even reading the contract. Come on, we know this.
And so I think it does. I think it matters. And so I'm trying to put my Kirby Oscar hat on here and say, look, Gyi, Conrad, some firms, you want to be the, I think they said the mad scientist, like you want the mad scientist, data, informed decision making. You want to be deep in that. Like this platform's not for you. But for many law firms, they're like, it's working for me. Like I get it. They're working with my competition, but I'm hitting my.
But there's value.
There's value. I'm hitting my target cost per client. I'm hitting
No, because they don't know that. This is where I get annoyed.
Well, you have full access to all of your data.
They don't know that. They're not doing that analysis. That's what irks the crap out of me is that they literally said, we like clients who don't want to be curious about their data. And that is problematic when you have a self-interested third party running your stuff. That is where that's my line that I draw.
Well, and I come back to a big picture. My curiosity is really around this idea of these legal tech wars are heating up, right? Ranks seem to be closing. There's consolidation. There's acquisitions, especially across the big players. And this historic idea, and again, Jack expressed his commitment to it. Historically, we've had this open ecosystem of integration partners, and Jack said this too, which I think is an important question to ask. Like, Clio is very committed to the firms own their data. He said that very specifically. We believe the data is the firms. It's not Clio's.
He's right.
We agree.
We agree with that.
Right.
And there's a limitation to that, right?
Well, I wonder if there's an inconsistency. There's a developing, maybe call it a vibe. There's a developing vibe out there.
Wow, that is very teenage vernacular.
Yeah, I'm trying to be hip.
Yeah.
There's this developing vibe out there that like I'm going to use a buzz phrase, one platform to rule them all, right? There's an advantage. So the tech people will say, there's an advantage of having all of your data in one platform, and we can do the better features, better value drivers if all of your data is in a single platform. And frankly, I think there probably is some truth to that.
There's a lot of truth to that because you know this because you've spent a ton of your clients' money putting their systems together, spec by spec. How does this integrate with that? How do we move data from CallRail into this? Like you live that.
I do. But I'm like, there is advantages to having it all in one spot. I don't know if that one spot should be the there seems to be like a lack. Like I think of like BigQuery. Like BigQuery, it's about as independent from all of this as you possibly can be. It's not a practice management tool. It's not a CRM tool. It's not a legal research tool. And so it's a database that you're paying for. It's the digital dirt. And so I want my data out of these platforms so that I can marry it with this data from across all these other platforms versus everything. It's starting to feel like this one platform to rule them all is very proprietary, right?
It feels very Apple.
Exactly.
It feels very Apple. I mean, interestingly,
and look, Apple's a very valuable company.
So Apple is a very valuable.
And I have this nice phone here, and it's great. I love it.
And we've got one filming us right now. But I'll nail the quote because you didn't. Jack did say Clio is arguably the world's largest law firm.
Well, now you're going to take us in a new direction, which I think is worth talking about.
No, but it's really talking about like having all of this in one ecosystem that works really, really seamlessly together. Being able to set up, doing all of the setup that you and I have spent hundreds of thousands of our clients' dollars on at a bespoke piecemeal level.
Yep.
And making that a seamless, easy experience. There's huge value in that.
Totally.
My wish for the small, medium-sized firm. And medium here, I mean, we're sitting at Clio. Medium to them is 200 lawyers.
Yeah, 20 to 200.
That's a lot of lawyers.
That is.
So my wish for that very large segment of medium is to have an ability to have shared data that's not related to your competitors. That's the kind of holy
That's the cautionary
grail.
tale.
That's what I would like to see.
Well, and I don't even know where we are in time because who knows? But who
Adam's
cares?
typing wrap it up.
Who cares? You mentioned this. Clio is the largest law firm in the world. Quote, and I got that when I was watching the keynote. I got that sense too.
Yeah,
and I brought it up with Ed Walters, who very artfully distinguished that his vision is not to empower legal services consumers necessarily, but to empower lawyers. He does believe that the lawyer expertise is essential to legal services clients having a good legal outcome, and I agree. But it does seem to feel like, gosh, is part of the solution to this access to justice gap that keeps coming up a direct-to-consumer legal AI mind?
Adam just told us to wrap it up, and you're gonna now we have to have a longer
You brought that
segment.
up. You brought that. Well, maybe we can make a second episode about this.
Well, we can keep going, and Adam can kill us.
Right. Well,
Okay.
let's
He's
fix
not
it
here.
in post.
Fix it in post.
Come to the show, Adam.
Okay. So why don't you go a little bit further?
An idea that's been out there is that the technology can actually provide the legal answer for some legal context, right? And we already know this. Consumers are going to ChatGPT to ask their legal questions, and unfortunately, because a combination of ChatGPT isn't there yet, and hallucinations, and yada yada yada, there's a lot of bad information coming out of that. But the promise of a well-grounded, especially grounded in Clio library, a grounded AI experience, GPT experience, where a consumer could ask Clio, the quote-unquote largest law firm in the world, an answer to a question and draft a document, right? Like imagine that. Seems to me that is a part of the potential future for the access to justice issue. Because again, let's face the facts here. Part of the access to justice issue is that people don't have money to pay for the lawyer to do the thing.
This is a justice gap question. Yeah. Right?
Right.
And I mean, this is what we're delightfully tying this back to my Mark Britton quote from the very beginning of the show. How does this change the way lawyers work? And you know who's already doing this? It's Hello Divorce, right? And so like how it would be fascinating, and we haven't done dive into Hello Divorce. We haven't talked to Erin for a while.
Well, we invited Erin to lunch our legal marketing, and she ghosted us.
She said no.
We love you, Erin.
We will send.
We're huge fans, Erin.
If
Don't
you would like
misunderstand us.
Erin Levine to please show up to the next lunch hour legal marketing, her cell phone number. No, it will be interesting to see how she's using AI to kind of bridge that gap. I mean, that is the most classic example. Family law, they always want to find people who can afford them. Like that's their marketing key. Well, what does that look like when you can use AI to move down market? And how do lawyers play in that game? That is a story that has yet to be written.
Yeah, and again, I think it's the abundance mindset is that there are going to be contexts that they can be technology can be a direct to consumer solver for, and they're going to be contexts that they're going to require lawyers. But what is the overall impact on that on the quote unquote pie of legal? And again, abundance mindset people would be like, it's just a bigger pie. There's more new legal work to do. Lawyers can stop spending their time focusing on the quote unquote crap part of legal work and deliver on the services that are, require legal expertise, require human involvement, require empathy, the client service, the unreasonable hospitality. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. It's kind of hazy in my mind. And I know history is replete with examples. The speed with which this is happening, I just think is unique. And that a lot of lawyers aren't able to move at that pace. And so there's a question mark of like, what does the overall lawyer demand, the expertise need look like in a largely tech-enabled future?
All right. Well, we're here at Clio. The cheeseburgers are coming out right over here. Gyi and I are going to have to sign off. Thank God that listeners are saying it's about time. We're going to have to sign off because this room is going to get very loud and very lunchy in about 2 minutes.
And if someone sent you this episode because they're like, who the heck are these guys? Please do subscribe to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Podcast on your favorite podcast, Widgemabob. Or check us out on YouTube if you want to see Conrad's beautiful face staring at you and those blue eyes and his red hat.
Wow. All right. Pandering like you can't believe, like a true marketer.
Until next time, Gyi and Conrad for Lunch Hour Legal Marketing.
Money makes a money